She talks about her own childhood experiences. Throughout my life, I lived with a tormented mother who bared her soul to me, and I could always feel her hurt, but was powerless to help her, except by a show of strength. I think that's extremely important because it is clear that as a child, Kitty Menendez did not have an available mother. She had a mother who, because of her own pain, looked to her children to take care of her. And Kitty Menendez did what most of us do according to the experts. She replicated her childhood experience as an adult. What she learned as a child is that the mother can be obsessed, depressed, in pain, and it is up to the child to understand and to take care of the mother. And that is what she expected of her children. She said, "I lived in a broken home and knew of no others like mine. I felt different from everyone else because of this and never allowed my feelings for any boy to run deep enough to ever hurt me." We talked about the fact that her parents were divorced and that this was something odd in her town and that she was ostracized as a result of it. She was rejected and she was shunned as a child. And I think that explains why it became so important as an adult to succeed, to have everybody think well of you. When I was at the University of Illinois, I sought the help of an analyst because of my guilt from being away from and leaving my mother alone. Again, the child is the caretaker. I swore this would never happen to me. For 24 years, I lived in a dream. I tried so hard to keep my marriage complete, but I didn't know how. I guess I thought giving you free rein to succeed in your career, regardless of how lonely it was at times, was my way of being strong, so that you would never have to worry about us. I thought if I concentrated on the house and our boys, their grades and sports. I think that is important because, as I've indicated before, her idea of being a mother was to make sure they got their schoolwork done and to make sure that they performed in sports. That was her taking care of our boys. That you would never feel fulfilled. I guess I was playing the wrong keys and was deaf to the music. For half of these 24 years, I was both deaf and blind. In August of 1986, I woke up from my dream and both heard and saw what you were and realized the deception was my fault, but it was too late. I think that is so typical of what we've been told about victims, is that it's her fault. Her husband has cheated on her for 8 years, and it's her fault. My fantasy about you and I and our family was my own destruction. I locked myself in a dream that began in my childhood. You were my prince who would take me into our castle and build a moat shielding me from all the hurt I felt as a child. In this last year, I realized there are no princes or castles, only real life. Reality I see as pain. It's not a world I choose to live in. So you see, it's not you or your 8 years with Louise or the other women in your life before her. It's none of that. It's only me. The real world for me is love, trust, and safety from all the pain of the past. I married a man just like my father in disguise, the very man I tried to run away from. Whenever we had sex, I could feel you fantasizing about Louise. And she goes on. I think it's a very sad letter, and I think she was a very sad lady. But I also think that this explains to you how she could have been the kind of mother that she was. She could not get beyond her own pain. She could not see the needs of her children. And she probably didn't even realize she was supposed to. She'd never had a mother who did it for her. I married a man just like my father in disguise, the very man I tried to run away from. We know that José had cheated on her. We know there was a divorce. I think a logical inference is that that's what she's referring to. I just find it very interesting that the line, I married a man just like my father in disguise, the very man I tried to run away from. The very next thought is whenever we had sex. We will never know what happened in her childhood family. We will only know that it severely damaged her and made her into a woman who would tolerate abuse in her own home.